No, we're good.
No, this will not be no.
You have a waiver?
So guys, I want to come at playing time from sort of three angles. How do you want your players to advocate for playing time? What are sort of like, obviously your best athletes, your best basketball players, your kids that naturally stand out are going to play. But for those few spots on your bench, what sort of roles are you looking for those kids to play? When you've got two kids, what sort of criteria do you use to sort of separate them? And then finish up with parents and playing time and how you approach parents. How do you want parents to approach you? So if you've got a player that either wants to play more or wants a bigger role on the team, how do you sort of want a kid to come to you? Do you, first of all, do you want a kid to feel like he can come to you and advocate for himself?
I do. I believe that's a really solid thing for a young person to do, is learn how to communicate their wants and their desires. Instead of, just going on social media these days and complaining about it, telling their parents about it, and then letting the parents understand, yes, go and talk to your coach. And then we can sit down and we can figure out, the coach's perspective versus the player's perspective.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I love having kids advocate for themselves. We come up with that at our very first parent meeting. We talk about the fact that we're working on developing young men. So part of that process is getting those guys to, if they're not happy with something, you need to address it, but then address how you address it. How do we talk to the coach? How do we go to him and say, hey, coach, what is it that I can do to kind of prove my position, my situation, my role? It's always valuable for them to be able to do those things.
Mm-hmm. See, I think there's a misconception out there that what we do and sort of our job is always corporate in front of groups of 10, 12, plus kids. But for me, especially with my being at a smaller school, like there's like, I call it counseling. Like, I feel like I have an amateur psychology degree because there's so many like one-on-one conversations that happens. And yeah, sometimes it's meeting about playing time and meeting about role in the team. And, if this shot comes up, can I shoot it? We have those conversations. But then along with that, I have a lot of meetings. Kids are stressed academically, or kids are dealing with performance anxiety on the basketball court. Y'all are at bigger schools, but I'm sure you take the time and give the space to chat with kids one-on-one, whether it's about playing time or not.
Absolutely. And I always say that that's a conversation where, I'll bring in another coach if need be, and bring that kid into the office. And again, we just have an opportunity to air it out and just, talk about it and help them understand that, again, it's not equal opportunity. It's really not equal opportunity playing time. It's, you get what you earn. And sometimes it's just the right fit. And one game does not mean that's how it's going to be, or it's going to be indicative of the entire season. So, I like to say, let's just give some time, and let's let things play out.
Yeah. And I think one of the worst places coaches and kids can be is just left in the dark. Now, sometimes that happens with the course of the season, with as busy as everybody gets, and just trying to work out your lineups to where everything works the same. But being in the dark is the worst place to be. So if you're a kid and you're in the dark, how are you addressing that darkness? Are you bringing it to light? Are you having that conversation? And for me, I know with the advancement of all the statistical stuff with Huddle and everything else, I mean, there's no reason why you should be left in the dark. I mean, it's pretty obvious when you start putting the numbers on paper and you give them that printout for, statistics. They're like, hey, here's your production. If your production per minute is ridiculous, on a good level, then you're going to be in the game more. If your production is god awful, then you should expect to be sitting on the bench. And a lot of kids don't see that. A lot of them see it as, well, but I did this. Okay, that was one play amongst 32. So, it's just one of those things where we just got to continue to be aware of the situation. And as roles change throughout the year, as kids their playing time goes up and it's an ebb and flow, as the season goes on based on production, then you have to continually have those conversations so kids aren't left in the dark.
Yeah. I try to keep that as a rolling of a dialogue as I can, because, Jason, you hit on this, just because X happens one day doesn't mean X is going to happen on another day. Those conversations for me are ongoing with like my 7th, 8th, 9th kids on the bench. Those conversations are ongoing because like those 3 or 4 kids that are sort of in your second unit, their playing time can change so much depending on the matchup and the pace of the game. You guys deal with a similar thing?
Absolutely. I've had a starter start the game, played maybe the first 2 minutes, maybe 3, and it wasn't due to foul trouble or anything else. It was just I brought in that next kid, and that kid played so well that when we looked at the stats the next day, you're surprised. And I said I didn't realize that my starter did not play except for so many minutes. It was just this other kid took advantage of the time that he was given, and we didn't look back that game. And so the starter was, Coach, what happened? Why am I being punished? You're not being punished. It's a team effort, and saying that your teammate that game played very well. Now it's your job to again, meet that or exceed that.
Yeah, and I guess at the end of it, and that's a good point too, because you hope that kid, in the process of you coaching your kids and teaching them what your philosophy is and how you want your program to act as a whole, like when kids are on the bench, when they're not playing, or when they are playing, how you like the interchangeable support to be. How do they act on the bench? I actually ran into a lot of that this year because starters all the way down, I didn't have one kid averaging more than probably 20 minutes a game. Mm-hmm. Now for me is a great benefit because I was deep enough to be able to play a lot of guys. So I was able to play 10, 11 guys a lot of games. And there were guys, I had guys, my 7th, 8th, 9th guys averaging about 13, 14 minutes a game. So my starters, there were a lot of times where they were sitting there like, Coach, I'm not playing enough. I'm not getting my points up. Like I'm only averaging 14 points, Coach. I should be averaging 20. Well, no, you're averaging 14, but the guy averaging 13 minutes, he's averaging 6.5 too. So, we're just deep enough to be able to do that. So getting those guys then at that point to understand the benefits of what we're trying to do, and then also being able to sit and support. That was a big thing for us. Is that if you are deep like we were, how do you get those kids to believe in what you're doing and get them to support?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.